Welcome back to Lions Walk. Hope you're doing well. That was the most Millwall performance we've ever seen at Ashton Gate, or Bashton Gate, as some are now calling it. Yes, so many players out through injury and the flu, and yet we go there, steal a 1-0 win, and then have a bit of a rough up at the end as well. Classic Millwall. And MCF so pulled up, got a goal. Smash and grab 1-0 win, had a punch up and left. That is the Millwall way. How you're doing? We've got Mike and Charlie to look back on that game. Coming up then this week, what did we make of all the fallout from Ashton Gate? Plus, we think we found the next Billy Gilmore, and his name is Dan Kelly. We'll get the panel's view on just how good he is. We're talking about injury time winners, of course, because we're up to the letter I. What's the best 90th minute goal you've seen the Wall score? We'll get Mike and Charlie's view on all of that. We're asking, of course, for your player that gets into our A to Z, the letter I, as we reach the pinnacle of the video this week. Tough letter, so get your comments in for that one. And we are live, of course, this week as well. Right, Mike, Millwall are back. The Millwall way is back. That was like yesteryear, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a tough fixture. To be fair, I think it was one of those for me. Like personally, going into it, I almost felt like it was a bit of a free hit and a good place to see where we're at. With the injuries we got, they're really starting to take effect, and we almost just want to get through a game now without picking up another injury or a suspension or something like that. But we battled well. They had their chances, but we kept them out and blocked them out. And I think we had some unfavourable decisions in the match. And I think that's kind of the best we could have hoped for, to be honest. Grab a 1-0 win at the end of the season. No one's going to remember that game from our perspective, I would assume. It's just, got the points on the board. It's all that really matters, to be honest.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll talk about the games this week coming up as well. Derby, of course, midweek. It's coming home, says. How the F, Charlie, have we won that? We ended the game with a double pivot of Negley and Dotti. The injury crisis is beyond stupid, and we're winning away anyway through forces I simply don't understand. Do you agree? What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, our injuries are just piling up again. Once we seem to get one in, one out. But yeah, that double pivot with those two is definitely not the way to go. But to be fair, the away fixtures we've been winning this season, so Sheffield, Norwich, Bristol, these are the type of games we normally go away and normally lose to, or normally do scrap a little draw. But it seems to be these away games we are doing really well in, and we're getting the wins, and especially now back at home, our home ground actually seems to be like how it should be, and we're now obviously unbeaten in I think it's like 7 or 8. So we're looking good at home. We're looking strong away. There's a few obviously mistakes that's coming up. Oxford, for example, conceding late, seeming to concede a lot of long range shots, but some of them you just can't do nothing about. But yeah, it was definitely a smash and grab. I wouldn't say we deserved it, but yeah.
It all count. Let me say, Venom, obviously, is an excellent Millwall account to follow on Twitter. It says third place, 3 wins on the bounce, only 2 losses in the last 11 games. Joint most clean sheets in the league as well, Mike. All of that when currently missing 14 first team players with injury. Yeah, do you think Millwall are getting enough credit for what they're having to deal with?
I don't think so. Not from reading comments and sort of like social media in general on X, and I think a lot of people disregard. Like, I think Bristol City are massively underestimating how good we can be on our day. They're already calling for the return fixture because we play them in 3 weeks' time. But I'm guessing none of those saw the performance against Southampton where we just played them off the park for the most part. And I think, to be honest, while we've got that underdog sort of aroma around us, I think that just suits us. I think if everyone was going into games in a low block and just trying to counter-attack us, give us the ball, that's when we don't really get results. I think that, teams are expecting to sort of rock up and be the one to break the cycle. And I suppose that's harder as the games go on now when we're not third for any reason. But a few of their comments saying, we're poor we was, but I think a lot of them don't know the circumstances. You know, the injury list is just mounting up. We've got 8 centre mids and 8 centre mids injured at the moment. Like we've literally only got Dan Kelly starting probably on Wednesday, and then there will be a stopgap of someone as well in centre mid. Like there is no one else left basically apart from the under-21. So yeah, it's we're battling. You can't say we haven't got the heart for it, and yeah.
Let's talk about Dan Kelly then, shall we? So, did he surprise? Does he surprise you, Charlie? Just how good he was. I mean, Richie says here, amazing. Take a bow, young man. What a shift you put in. Composed, nailing folk, being an absolute mill nightmare for players. Yes.
Yeah, I think he's. I think all we ask for from a Millwall perspective is you work hard, especially if you're a young lad. You know, like for example, we don't expect Ben Gora Williams or Dan Kelly to come in and get 10, 15 goals a season. They're not those type of players. Even with Romain Eze, we never expected him to be a world beater. But what they do is they have come in, they've gelled in. They haven't thought, I'm selfish. I just want the ball to feet. They work hard. They put themselves about. And yeah, it's a difficult one because he came from Celtic and we all got a bit excited. We paid 500 grand for him to come early, and then Harris binned him off in the under-21s. Maybe, I do personally think at one point he looked like he was like 10 years old and he was never going to grow into a man. We always thought he was going to go on loan maybe this season. There's a few youngsters that probably could do with the, week in, week out. He's probably one of them, to be fair. He's lucky that the chances have come with the injuries, but I think once Billy Mitchell comes back, once Derek comes back, it's going to be hard for him to keep his place. But at this point, all you got to do is have 2 legs, and you'll be all right. You're in the team. But yeah, no, he's definitely stepped up and he's doing his bit.
Yeah, Mike, were you impressed?
Yeah, I thought he put in a good shift. I thought he'd done a good shift against Southampton. I think that's a big game to sort of make your full debut in, and there was a couple of shakiness moments, but I think for the most part he was solid. I don't think he's someone that's like for here and now necessarily. I think like maybe in a season's time or and build up to it. I don't think it was expected. But to be honest, it's quite nice seeing some of these players that are that have come in for money reasons. Millwall don't really often buy players, so it's getting to actually see him play, I think is nice enough as it is at the moment. But I assume once once the senior squad players are back, he'll probably drop down the line a little bit. But as he's taking his chance, he's not going to get dropped through like a poor performance, for example. It will just be through other fitness and injury reasons.
Let's have a chat about what happened after the game then, shall we? Payno says here, David Livermore deserves an absolute knighthood for what happened there. Commentators saying, those ugly scenes at the end of the game. Nothing ugly about it. We love it, don't we, Charlie? Bit of a good dust up. What did you make of what happened?
Yeah, I mean, from what it looked like, it was just a miscommunication between the managers, and then one of their players decides to, want to be prime Roy Keane and thinks he can do what he wants really and push the manager, which I personally think he deserves a ban for, in the sense of you can't really do it. They've instigated it, but classic Millwall, we're gonna get probably more fucking heavier ban and everything else. We're probably gonna get a 10-point deduction. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Livermore, he was like that as a player. Do you know what I mean? Like, he'll hit you. Do you know what I mean? Like, straight away, he's strangling the player. I see all the tweets online being like, "Oh, look at your manager on the floor," and I'm like, "It's not a manager, it's assistant." And it took 3 of your players to actually put him there. But what I loved from the team is that, apart from Bender, everyone was ready for it, in a sense of they weren't just watching what was happening, and there's a big togetherness with this club. And you can see that from even the youth players. And Ballo was trying to help Ivanovic get up, see what was happening. He left him on the floor and he just run over to try and get in there. So it's a good sense of togetherness. But obviously, we don't want to see that as much as publicly. But as a Millwall fan, we live for those type of moments. We do. As you said, Mike, they're talking about the return fixture. Wanted to give it. They're not going to have it that way down the Den. I doubt that Knight, or whatever his name is, don't even know who he is. If he's on the sideline, he ain't going to do nothing. It's the same as James McLean. He loves to just cry to the referees, but loves to wind up the fans. So, Yeah, I think it's just part of the game, part of parcel. Probably get a slap on the wrist, maybe a talking to, and yeah, it's just part of the game.
Some fans were saying, Mike, because the referee was so poor and so weak and letting things go, he built it up to a bit of a cauldron. Did you
Yeah,
see
a
any
little bit.
truth
To
in
be
that?
honest, to be honest, I actually went on the Bristol fan forum online to read some of their comments on their thought process on the game, and they had some real comments about the refereeing, and it was just, I thought it was crazy. In all honesty, I thought that was probably one of the worst one-sided performances I've seen from like. We had 7 free kicks all game for us. I think we gave away 18. We had like 3 or 4 bookings. They didn't have. I don't think they even had any actually at that point with a clear pullback. And I was looking at some stats. So Millwall have given away the most fouls in the league, and Bristol City have won the most fouls in the league. And that is literally how their game planned out. Every time that they dropped, I'm really surprised he never gave one of the penalty shouts. But it was I thought the refereeing. I think they're just getting worse and worse every week. I think the standard of officiating, they're obviously not getting held accountable. I remember I went to a fans forum. I think Kenny Jackett was speaking there, and he was saying the problem is you can't even like write a scathing report to the like the PGMOL or wherever it is for the championship because it doesn't go anywhere. They just know that you've sent them horrible. You've like insulted their friends and things like that. So he said you end up just going like putting the like most mediocre score. So then you're not dissing them or anything like that. And I kind of feel like that's in the point. I think it almost needs to be watched and looked at because it does feel like we're being hindered. But then saying that, their goal did look onside by the look of it. So
Yeah,
the one like thing they did to favour us, I suppose that's all that matters at the end of the day. That gave us an extra 2 points. But yeah, I think the ref was just shocking. I don't think he wasn't consistent. He wasn't. I just don't think he really had control of the game, to be honest. And I think that frustration on their part, they had some fantastic chances, especially in the last 15 minutes. And when they're not falling in the back of the net and, not getting all these million penalty shouts, I think that the frustration was more on their part. I'd be interested to see. I've watched the footage back a few times now to see who instigated it. I can't quite figure it out, to be honest, if it was because it looked like the bit on the camera is obviously Alex Neil putting his hand out to their manager and then Knight pushes him. But it also doesn't make sense if there was a bit before that. And yeah, it'll be interesting how it pans out, but expect a fine.
Expect another fine, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And you got Hull this weekend as well, and they've been scrapping at Stoke in their last away game. So this is going to be a feisty one this weekend. Right, the FA Cup draw's been made as well, Charlie, since we last met you. Pretty in, yeah.
That's got a
It's
1-0.
unspectacular.
That's got a 1-0 Fleming goal written all over it.
That's
Yeah, there
exactly
you
what
go.
it is. Yeah. 1-0 Fleming written
Yeah,
all over
it is the
it.
most boringest. Charlton get Chelsea. Like, what's going on here? Like, we get Burnley. It's got a Fleming goal written all over it. Away at Turf Moor. Yeah, it is what it is. We don't really like the cups anyway. So, but to be fair, I'm actually happy. Let's get knocked out. We can keep the players fresh for the league, and hopefully, it'll be all right. Yeah, I think they need a rest anyway.
It's like that in between us bit in the film where it's like
Yeah.
Burnley can fuck off. It's the most like it's such a it's just the worst ground in the worst time of year to go like it's just not a match you want to have any part of. Like it's nothing. If you get through, you're happy. But I'd rather just play 11 kids. Play the under 21s. Just get through it, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, you know what will happen as well. If we lose, they'll get West Ham in the next round. So
yeah,
always the way.
Yeah, QPR and Charlton got some good draws, didn't they?
Yeah, lucky for some.
Anyhow, focus on the league though. Who cares about the FA Cup this year? As I think, Mike, you said a couple of weeks ago when we asked you that question, didn't we? We're up to the letter I in our A to Z this week, so get thinking for who.
I think we're on H, aren't we?
Oh, we're H. Oh goodness,
we can't. You do this every week. I think
okay, we are gonna have to make sure.
Also, there's a big one, so you can't miss it as a Millwall fan as well.
Right,
so.
H, all right, okay, well, we best not miss H. Next week we're up to I then, and we need some help on that. So get us thinking on
Can
that.
we have a joint answer?
Yeah, we all know who
definitely
it's going to be anyway. There's only one.
There's only one, man.
We'll come to H in a minute, but it's got us thinking about injury time winners because the Championship has seen more 90th minute plus goals this season so far than it has in any other season up to the same period date. So, what is the best injury time goal that you've seen Millwall score? What's got you jumping out of your seat the most? Now, if you're watching live, we'd love you to get typing now. We'll put some of these up on the screen. If you're watching this, of course, as a clip, please put your comments down below, and we will read some of these out on next week. Then, so Mike, what got you out of your seat?
Do you know what? I was thinking about this the other day because I feel like we don't score an abundance of late goals. We're not really one of those under Rowett and Harris. We were never really, unless we're like we're behind. We're never really attacking in the 93rd minute. It's just we're always usually shutting up shop and trying to hold out. The one that sticks out to me, and I can't remember what year it was, and coincidentally it was Southampton, and we went 1-0 down in like the 91st or 92nd minute. And then we scored from kickoff. It was Liam Trotter to put it back to 1-1, and that was when we was in League One. I think that was the most, because it was 0-0 at that point, and then the 1-0 goes in, and you're just going, "Oh my god!" Like thrown it away, sort of thing. And I'm ready to walk out. I probably was actually, walking down the stairs at that point to make a hasty exit. But yeah, that one is probably the first one that comes to mind. It was a great work goal with Liam Trotter sliding it in. That was brilliant. I think Casper had a late one. Was it against Swansea last year? That was a good goal. Bit of a snatch and grab with their possession. But yeah, there was. Yeah, I'd say Liam Trotter one was one that was the first one that comes to my mind, obviously, and against Southampton.
Charlie?
I mean, obviously, recently you can obviously say, Kramer's goal against Southampton for what it meant and everything else. But I'm not even going to go for. Well, we didn't even score the goal, but I just remember away to Swansea when Obafemi ran the whole length of the pitch. Ryan Leonard made the last ditch tackle, and I just remember being like, "Oh, well, that's it. Amazing tackle, well done. We just pumped it long. Somehow we scored 2 from own goals and then drew the match." And I was just like, 2 own goals in 90. I think it was like 94th and 95th back to back. We were just like 3-1 down. How's this gonna work? And then 2 own goals, but it was more or less that tackle. He's literally run the whole length of the pitch and somehow got a foot in, and yeah. So
I think it must have been the year before Casper scored late, didn't he, to win 2-1? I think it was, or 1-0. Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, we've got a few.
I'll have a look.
Okay, good shots. The World Cup draw's also been made since we last spoke as well, Mike. Everyone gets a bit of a buzz when you hear your own club's name mentioned in the commentaries. So where do we think we're going to hear that? Which Millwall player is either past or present? We think we're going to be seeing quite a lot of at this summer's tournament.
Good question. That one's throwing me off. Let's have a think. Can you come back to me on that one? I don't. You stumped me there,
Charlie.
Well, I think we've only got one probable player that's going to play every game, and that's probably Max Crocombe for New Zealand. But I mean, obviously, hopeful shouts. Hopefully Ivanovic can get in form and obviously make the squad for Serbia. Doubt any English players are going to get in the team. Do you know what I mean? For us, we're too stacked there. But yeah, we ain't really got a lot of internationals that I don't think are there just yet. Do you know what I mean? So maybe Dan Kelly could sneak in that Scotland squad. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
Again, I don't think there's anyone in our team apart from probably our keeper who actually is probably the star player for their country. So it depends.
Really. Yeah, I can't think of anyone else that could possibly, because Ivanovic is more in the younger team, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, Tristan Kramer should get in that French squad because Konate is absolutely—he's terrible.
Yeah,
and Tristan Kramer is the best centre back in the league. So
yeah, watch his space on that one, I think. Right then, finally up to H. Then we go. Go on then, Mike. Take this away.
Neil Harris. There is literally only one that comes under H, and that's why I thought we definitely haven't mentioned him before. So it had to be this one. But yeah, I think it's incredible what he's done. He's what he's been through as well, with obviously playing for us and then the illness and then coming back and playing 370 plus games for us. Neil's top goal scorer. And then it doesn't stop there. He's come in to manage us twice now, and especially the second time round. And To be honest, I'd already resided that we were going to drop down to League One at that point. I didn't see any way of clawing out of it, and then we end up finishing halfway back up the table again. We're sad to see him go, but I think it was needed. I think he's tactically he was never going to get you much further than what he did already. I think he sort of gave me all togetherness to sort of like feel a family again, and and I think he went into that first game against was it Sunderland away where he said like, this is my club and we're doing this, and laid the law down. And I'll never forget those Air Force Ones running and fist pumping the away end. And you can't. There is as big as you get at Millwall without having a statue.
Charlie, 100%
Yeah,
agree.
literally the same. Honest, I mean, like obviously, there's an honourable mention of Terry Hurlock, but obviously that's way before my time. Literally, my time when I first started going down the den was 2004. Obviously I was 4 years old, so I don't remember those games. But like the teams that I always remember had, Neil Harris, Gary Alexander, Chris Hackett, Dave Martin. That was my teams growing up. But the focal point was always Neil Harris, and as I said, like he left, came back as a manager. Seeing him win, we were at us with when going to Wembley and seeing him lift the trophy. Again with the likes of like Steve Morrison and Lee Gregory, who Lee Gregory is pretty much like the reincarnation of him in that time. Like they were just scoring goals, but he just worked hard and he worked his socks off. And yeah, he's put the club in a position where we are now. Without Neil Harris, we literally wouldn't be where we are. And it only had to be one person.
Well said. And of course, we mentioned Gregory last week for G, didn't we? On here as well. Brilliant. Right. Next week, then, it's a double header. I and J next week. So join us. It'll be interesting if Ivanovic gets in next week. Let us start typing away your comments. Right. Thank you very much, you two. Derby County should be a tough one. Of course, this week, and then Hull as well, who are the worst, second worst team in terms of conceding goals. So there should be a bagful at the Den this weekend as well. I was told off for calling it the New Den last week as well in the comments, Mike. So apologies if that offended anyone. Brilliant. Right, see you then in a couple of weeks' time. See you next week after the Derby and Hull game. Thank you very much for watching. Drop us a sub if you haven't done so already. See you next week.